Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Full TIMEOUT Podcast. I'm your host, Ari Bruckman. Joining us this week, our special guest is one of the top real estate investment coaches in the world. With a following on Instagram of just under 900,000, he has managed to come in, starting from nothing, raised by a single mom with his three siblings, to absolute stardom, creating opportunities not only for himself through his own success, but now operating and owning 25 businesses, 7 of which are grossing 7 figures each year. Our special guest this week, ladies and gentlemen, is none other than Mr. Carlos Reyes. Carlos, how you doing?
Blessed, brother. Blessed, man. Thank you for having me. I'm glad that we got to make this work. And I hope that we're able to serve a lot of people today, because I know that that's the number one objective here. And, I appreciate that. I appreciate you doing what you do. And, it's one of my purposes in life is to now be able to serve a lot of people. So thank you for allowing me to fulfill my purpose as I'm also helping you fulfill your purpose. So let's serve people today.
Definitely. I'm excited to get after it. Thank you again. And Carlos, I want to dive right in here and talk about, you quit a corporate job here in 2015 before you went all in here. Can you talk a little bit about that corporate position after having that for 14 years, quitting in 2015? What was the deciding factor for you to ultimately leave that position and enter a field where, you talk about this 99.9% of people don't make it?
You ever hear that old, you've probably seen some memes on Instagram that says, don't allow your $50,000 a year job to hold you back from $50,000 a month job, right? It's true. Only very few entrepreneurs may understand that. The way that worked out is, man, I had, what I thought was comfortable, what I thought was secured. I was working towards a position that was going to take me from $70,000 a year at that corporate job to $110,000 a year. I was working towards that position for 4 years, and I had it in the bag. Like, I was the only guy that was actually working. I was going to win by default, but forget winning by default. I was the only guy that was like ranked high enough to even go toward, try to get that position, right? Well, the guy decided that he was going to have, for political reasons, he was going to have a somewhat of a tryout for it. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? I'm the only one that's been working towards this position for 4 years, right? And he says, but for political sakes, we just got to make it look like everybody's getting an equal opportunity. I said, okay, I can understand that. Sure enough, I was ranked number 1. The guy that he chose was ranked 17th. It turns out that they used to travel the world together and they were friends, right? So you want to talk about politics in corporate America. I mean, I'm not going to call myself a victim, but I definitely went through it. Well, what happened there was that was a rude awakening for me. What I thought was security for myself, my family, what I thought was, comfortable, right? I realized that I had no control. Somebody else controlled the faith of not only myself, but my family. Like, somebody else controlled the outcome, the finances, right? Of what I could make and what I can provide for my family. So, brother, right there, I mean, that was like being baptized by fire, 2 weeks went by after they were like, hey man, we know you're discouraged by what happened. Take 2 weeks off, paid, leave, absence, whatever. And I felt like a phoenix rising from the ashes, man. Like, I felt God talking to me. God was saying, hey, it's like, just trust me. This didn't happen for a reason. Trust me. It's time for you to trade like the good for the great. Like, just trust me. Well, little did I know, I said, okay, Lord, you know what? You've never let me down. I remember talking to God since I was like 5 years old. Like, you never let me down. I put my faith in God. I let go. I let go. It's like that old saying, let go and let God. I let go. Man, something sparked. Like, I read this book. It was a $10 book. And it was about real estate investing and how to get started with little to no money, to no credit, no knowledge, no experience, no nothing, right? And I was like, well, what do I have to lose? I just got screwed over a position, right? I read this book. I become obsessed with the idea of being a successful real estate investor. I start following people on Instagram. I'm looking at what they're doing. I mean, I'm looking at a guy. He's parked next to one of his flips. He's holding a big old check. He's in his Mercedes Benz. And I'm like, I'm really mad. I'm like, man, what would it feel like to be that person for a day, right? So I just become obsessed, man. I become obsessed, and I go back And I've made up my mind in those 2 weeks. Like, it was the worst thing they could have done, but it was the best thing for me, right? Those 2 weeks, I go back, I talked to the vice president. Her name was Jill at the time. Jill. Hey, Jill, I can no longer work 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday, 70 hours a week. I can work 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. because I'm going to try to become a real estate investor. Well, you can only imagine what that sounds like, right? They're like, yeah, sure. Yeah, okay, right? Like, sure thing, bud, right? Like, you have no money. You barely have enough time, whatever. You've been with us for such a long time. You're the ultimate company man. Yes. Because you have to remember, when you're in corporate America, it's like 99.99% of people in corporate America, they never transition over to entrepreneurship. It's programming. It's like a fish that lives in water. It's like, it's all they know. It's all we know. Like, that's what it kind of felt like, by the way, when I made the jump from a corporate to entrepreneurship, like a fish coming out of the water and just like going crazy. I can't breathe. I don't know what's going on, right? I don't know this. I'm uncomfortable. Brother, that's what happened. They screwed me out of a position, and God spoke to me and said he had something bigger for me. And I used to make $70,000 a year there. Since 2016, there hasn't been a month that, after my companies are paid, right? Like, my CFO, my chief financial officer, she pays me, minimum $100,000 a month, after, and I put all this money into, like, I got 27 companies, and I got, thank God, I got 4 new companies coming out. They're SaaS companies, software as service. I got 4 new companies coming out in the next 30 to 60 days. Well, my CFO pays me about, $100,000 minimum a month. And going back to that reference of, like, don't allow a $50,000 a year job to keep you from a $50,000 a month job. Well, I was allowing a $70,000 a year job to keep me from, $100,000 a month minimum. Brother, best thing to ever happen to me is me failing in corporate America, or them screwing me out of a position for political sake. So I just want people out there to understand that don't sell yourself short for comfort and security, because that's what I was doing for a very long time.
The thing that really sticks out to me is, if you don't take that time off, if they don't say, hey, Carlos, take the next 2 weeks off, we'll give it to you paid. Do you ever see yourself? Because let's say you get that position, and that time period doesn't allow you, right? It doesn't happen. So you're not reflecting, you're not thinking about it. Do you think you ever make the jump? And if so, what would have had to been the factor then? Because at that point, it would have seemed like you had gotten, what you
That's
were
the first time somebody asks me that. Let me just say this. If I would have moved forward with that position, if I would have gotten that position like I was scheduled to, I think I would have been stuck for another 5-10 years. God knows, maybe forever. I wouldn't have all this. I own this building. I bought this building. I rehabbed this building. The people in here, they're beautiful, amazing people. They all work for my organization. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have all of this if I would have moved forward with that job. Again, sometimes we have to trust God. Sometimes he wants us to trade the good for the great, and our own limitations and our own insecurities are what keeps us from allowing God to really allow us to live like our best lives.
I love that. I love that. You release content yourself. You talk about 5 components that tend to allow entrepreneurs to either be successful or they fail. One of them is the decision factor, deciding what they want out of life, deciding
that's number one,
what it is that they're working towards.
Yeah.
What was it for you that won you over, that motivated you to say, you know what, this is what this is what I'm going to start working towards out of life. And regardless of how things go, I'm going to live and die by this, because frankly, this is what I want my life to be about.
It all started with that decision. I just wanted more. I wanted more. I said, you know what? I got 2 daughters. I got an 8-year-old and a 2-year-old. My daughter at that time was around 2 or 3. And I'm like, man, what's going to happen when she turns 16 and she's going to go to high school, and she's going to be like, daddy, can you give me a vehicle? Can you give me a car? Right? What am I going to say? No, I'm sorry, I can't afford it. Or we can't afford it. Like, I've never told my kids no for anything, man. Like, brother, I drop my daughter off every Monday in a Rolls Royce, right? Like, she requests that, like, she's my little princess, and she's like, Daddy, it's Monday. Can you drop me off in the Rolls Royce? Like, she feels so good about it, right? It makes her day. So these are some of the things that were kind of going through my mind. Like, what about my kids? Once I started thinking about my kids, I was like, I'm going to be the one to change it forever for everyone. I'm going to be the sacrificial lamb. I'm going to be the one that puts it all on the line. My kids no longer have to. All they got to do is plug and play now, God willing, right? My kids are not going to have to. I'm going to do it. That's going to be my legacy. It started with dad. It started with grandpa. It started with great grandpa. he started this empire. I made the decision, brother, of changing the financial trajectory for generations to come. Once I made that decision, there was no going back. When you make a decision of that magnitude, think about it. I said, I made the decision of changing the financial trajectory for generations to come. There's a lot of power and a lot of strength that goes behind that. There's no going back. I remember, bro, like being in such pain of failure and wanting more, and crying to the Lord, like, please, Lord, don't allow me to leave this world without maximizing my potential. Like, let me just leave it all out here. I feel like I'm only like 10 to 15% there. I've been able to do more than anybody in my family's existence for generations before me, right? I'm still just getting started. So I think God's fulfilling his promise.
That's amazing. And Les Brown talks about it, right? Fear, false evidence appearing real. And we kind of let these things ultimately determine our reality. But, if we can kind of recenter our focus and tear down that mural that reflects, just ourselves, and we start to figure out how we can help other people and why it isn't about us, we'll stop selling short, because we may sell ourselves short. We may be comfortable with not finishing that workout, not doing those things. But ultimately, when we have other people's lives that are contingent upon our success, your reasons become too strong, I think, to quit in that position, at least for me. Carlos, you talk about some of the people that you started to idolize when you were doing your research and figuring out in real estate. I know you talk about this, you posted this on Instagram. It's in terms of just coming over illegally and that process. How much of a role did your mother play in seeing what she had to do to be successful, just to get by, to create opportunities for you guys?
I get a little emotional actually thinking about my mother, because I love that woman. She sacrificed her life. She sacrificed her life. She started working out in the fields for 2 years. She left her kids. Imagine a mother having to make the sacrifices, abandoning her children unintentionally, right? My mother, man, like she's the real MVP, right? She's the real, like, it started with her. My mom never made more than $8.25 an hour. My mom doesn't speak English to this day, but if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I got all my hustle from her. I got all my perseverance from her. I got my ability to sacrifice and my work ethic from her, and my tolerance for risk from her. She brought me to this country illegally through a sewer system the first time. And then through, we failed in California after a year and a half, 2 years. We went back to Mexico, and she had a plan. She had a plan. She said, hey, son, you're going to bag groceries, and I'm going to go clean these rooms out here in the hotels, the resorts, and we're going to make it back. We're going to bounce back from this. And we did. I started bagging groceries as a 9-year-old. I saved up enough money in Mexico. She was making about $34 a week, by the way. She was making $34 a week, right? I was making about $10 a day. I was active, man. Like I bagged a lot of groceries, brother, working 12-hour days, right? We saved up enough money, put her in a bus back to this time to Phoenix. And then a year later, she came down and got me, and she paid a coyote to sneak me through a fence in Nogales, Sonora. Then she pretty much brought me up to Phoenix. She started my paperwork process in 1997. Then I got my work permit, and then I got a permanent residency, and then I became a citizen of this great country. It all started with her. I wouldn't be where I am today, and I wouldn't have the daughters. I wouldn't have the marriage, right? Everything. I can sit here and say, like, hey, legacy is going to come, but what about like her legacy? She equipped me with these tools, and I retired her. She lacks nothing. She needs nothing. I retired her in 2017, and she will never have to want or need for the rest of her life. Thank God. I absolutely don't tell her enough. I think I do. I hit her with texts every day, phone calls. I eat breakfast at her house 2 to 3 times a week, and she comes over, and I'll smoke a cigar when she comes over, and she'll smoke. She does smoke cigarettes. That's one thing. She smokes cigarettes, and she's 63, 64, and man, that woman is something else. I'll tell you that much. She is. They don't make them like they used. They don't make them like that anymore, bro. She was my father. She was my mother. She was my nurse. She was my protector. She was everything. And man, I want her to enjoy the rest of her years. I told her in 2017 when I retired her, I said, Mom, I'm going to make the rest of your life the best of your life. And she just came back from Mexico. She went down to visit some people. And I'm like, here, mom. I gave her I bought a brand new, it's a 2019. I bought it last year. I bought a 2019 Mercedes-Benz Sprinter van, right? The big old black vans, right? The Mercedes. I'm like, here, mom, take the van, take some of the family with you. Here's a few grand, go down there, have a great time. And, she's living her best life, bro. And she deserves it. She deserves it because I got all my hustle from her.
That's incredible. And you talk about this a little bit in your videos, but in terms of the sacrifices you had to make as an entrepreneur when you first started, you had to put, your family maybe on the back burner for a little bit. You had to put some of those things that you talk about, you love to do on a daily basis.
That was hard. Hard, brother. I neglected, when I got going, I call it the eat shit stage, where you're, a year, 2 years, 3 years, you're just eating shit. You're eating shit. You don't know what's going to happen, but like you have so much faith, you believe in something that nobody else sees. For the first 3 to 4 years, I neglected, my wife, my baby girl, my 8-year-old. She was about 2 at the moment, 2 to 3. My own health, the hobbies of working out and playing basketball and having friendships and watching TV and all that, like everything went on the back burner. Everything. And this is why it's so difficult to become massively successful, because people aren't willing to make the sacrifices. You know what I mean? They don't want to. They choose not to. It's a choice, by the way. Again, I wasn't even born in this country. This isn't for someone special, born with special, powers. Like, no, it's not like that at all. This is a choice, right? And like you said earlier, it starts with that decision, number one, and you got to be committed. A lot of people lack commitment. I mean, how many people out there are motivated, right? They're very motivated. I put out a post and I'm motivated, and then that goes away, in a day or two or a week, right? So decision, commitment, work ethic, sacrifice, perseverance. I believe not giving up it plays a huge, huge role. How many people give up? Statistically, 97% of people, only 3 out of 100 don't give up. I mean, that's a very small portion. Your audience out there that's listening right now, I got some good news and some bad news. You're either going to be part of the 97% or you're either going to be part of the 3%. And I would rather live a few years as a 3%er than 60 to 80 years as a 97%er. Because, man, you're not living. At that point, you're not living. When you're part of that whole, like, I've been there. I was in the rat race. I worked in corporate America. I've been poor as dirt. I've had food stamps. I've had cash assistance and rental housing assistance. I've had it all. Like, as far as on the poverty side, the house that I grew up in, I didn't have electricity till the 6th grade. I didn't have electricity. No electricity, no running water, no electricity. So there's nothing you can do or say to me that is going to justify you not chasing your dreams, like really chasing your dreams, chasing your goals, like chasing what you really want. But again, it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. If you are one of those people that do have that burning desire inside, man, you got to do everything to feed that flame every single day. But if you're not one of those people, you're like, I'm okay with having my job and clocking in and clocking out and having my 401k and my IRA and my health insurance and my biweekly paychecks and, my 10-cent raises every year, then that's okay too, right? Because happiness is the ultimate success, right? So if you're happy doing that, then be happy. But if you're not happy because there's more, then you better start making your way onto this side of the fence for sure.
Carlos, you talked about motivation there. And I wanted to stay with that idea because, like you said, motivation comes and goes. When you watch that movie, how many times have we seen that movie where at the end, right, that hero story, they go through the conflict, right? At the end, everything comes full circle. You're inspired. You want to take that first step. Maybe you do. And then after that, you start to realize that inspiration, that motivation, that went away.
Motivation is a temporary emotion, brother. It's a temporary emotion. It doesn't last. Commitment is where it's at. Like being committed, right? I'll give you an example. You can wake up today and say, man, I feel like going to the gym today, right? And you can wake up tomorrow and you're like, yeah, screw the gym. Or you can say, I'm going to go to the gym 4 times this week. And no matter what happens, I'm going to go to the gym 4 times this week, right? That's commitment. If you don't get it in the morning, like this is commitment. Remember this green juice I'm holding up for people who can't see this? You said, hey, I get mine in the morning. I said, hey, I get mine in the morning too, right? but I didn't have time to get it in the morning today. I had a doctor's appointment at 7:30. But guess what? It is 3:34 p.m. my time. The day's not going to go by without me getting my greens today. You see, that's commitment. That's discipline. There's a difference, So I want people to understand that.
What was the motivating part now? I mean, you've made so much money, right? You continue to have success. You're achieving things that most people will never see. But you still have to have that same intensity to continue to go, right? Otherwise, the second you kind of take your foot off the gas pedal is when things start to unravel a little bit.
I'll never take my foot off the gas pedal. Some entrepreneurs are built a little different. For me, I'm a growth junkie, man. I'm a growth junkie. It becomes like, this is a big game for me, and I'm just a hell of a player. Like I'm a really good player. Now, I didn't start out as a good player. I have flipped over 1,000 properties. My entire team, I got an entire team right here that helps me flip these houses, right? I flipped over 1,000 houses, and I'm asking my guys today, hey, what do we need to do to do more, do more deals, right? I'm over like, you know what I mean? Like it's just there's no stopping. Once you're in the game, for me, it's comfort or growth. And I am a growth junkie. My fulfillment comes from growth. Forget the financial side. I'm talking about on the accomplishment side, like, different venture, blowing up the 27 ventures we already have, right? Maximizing on those, making sure my home life is beautiful. Like my wife, I'm still in love with my wife. I've been with my wife since I was a teenager, by the way. Like I've been with her since I was 17 years old. You know what I mean? Like we're high school sweethearts. Got my 2 baby girls. Like I'll never be the best father in the world. I'm a great father because my daughters and my wife tells me, hey, you're a great daddy. Right. But for me, it's like, again, there's still growth there. I can always be a better dad, right? I can always be a better entrepreneur. I can always be a better servant. You can always be better. There's no limit to that. I mean, that's the thing. Like I live with a limitless mindset. Like I truly, like if I wanted to become an astronaut, I could become an astronaut. Like somehow, some way, if I really wanted to, you get what I'm saying? Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. If I really put if I wanted to become whatever, like at this point, brother, I have taught my mind that there is absolutely no limits. There are no limits. I live with the limitless mindset now. So for me, I'm a growth junkie, and it's never going to stop, God willing.
And we talked about before here, confidence and happiness, and these are all states. They can leave, as quickly as they come. For you, and this is what I'm falling in love with here in terms of the process, it's the maintenance. It's the daily working out. It's the daily
greens,
drinking the greens, right, and doing the little
drinking water,
right,
yeah.
Drinking water, and so. Is there anything that you do in particular to keep that routine that's habitual that allows you to stay? Look, people still want Carlos. You know what I mean, Carlos. When you interact with me, when you interact with somebody else, you want to give them everything. You want to be that high energy, intensive guy that
I show up. And
how do you do that? What have you found to help you be successful in that regard?
Brother, something that's really, really, really helped me since March of 2019 is I started hiring personal development coaches, right? And I give a lot of credit to my mentors, Jeremy Wilson up in Sedona, Tanya Oliver in Florida. They're kind of my board of advisors. They keep me grounded. They keep me in my heart. They keep me in my purpose. Brother, for the most part, man, I'm pretty fired up all the time. Like I'm fired. I mean, I don't know if you can see it or sense it. I don't know, right? But I'm pretty fired up at all times. And that's why people love being around me, man, because they get to take a little bit of that energy from me. You know what I mean? That purpose from me, that fire from me, man. So I do weekly 2-hour massages. My massage therapist comes to my house Tuesdays at 9 p.m. I do 1 hour sensory deprivation tank floating. I'm starting to fall in love with that now. Oh my God. It's like getting a 5-hour massage. It's crazy. I don't even know how to explain it. Like after you do your fourth flow, I strongly encourage every entrepreneur out there. First flow, you might be like, oh man, I'm a little claustrophobic. Second flow, you're like, oh man, what's going on here? My mind's going crazy. Third flow, you're like, man, this is really starting to feel a little different. Brother, on your fourth flow, you'll walk out of there light, and you'll walk out of there like so much clarity, right? Because when you shut that pod, complete darkness, complete silence. You literally, it's a sensory deprivation tank. Like your senses are like right there. I do a lot of grounding. I do a lot of breathing. I got a breathing coach, Tanya Oliver, one of my personal development coaches. She mentors not only me, but not only myself, but she mentors my wife twice a week, and she mentors my third grader twice a week. Brother, best money I've ever spent in my life. Another thing people don't understand is I spend well over 6 figures on my personal development. Well, guess what? If I keep spending that, man, I'm fired up. I'm a student of the game. I'm learning more and I'm passing on to a lot of other people, right? I'm a source of communication, I'm a very high frequency type of person, very high frequency. But yes, all of these routines, right? The discipline of these routines is what allows me to operate at such a high level.
I think a lot of people let that part go. There are times where you may have to push it later, or you work out in the morning if you have to, because you got a family obligation and you're still trying to make things work. But at the same time, if you don't take care of the vehicle that gets you, to the success that you're trying to achieve, what's the point of getting there, right? I mean, you
are your best investment. And like I tell some of my students, take care of yourself and everything else will be taken care of, because who takes care of everything else? You do. Right? If you don't take care of yourself, who's going to take care of you? Nobody. And then what's going to happen to everything else? It's not going to get taken care of. I tell people that all the time. I started coaching in 2018. Once I actually was like crushing the game in real estate, I was like, okay, well, I want to teach others how to do this too, right? Well, my students don't just get X's and O's from me. They get mindset, personal development, spirituality, emotional intelligence, consciousness, energy, right? They get it all. Like that's what people, I'm a very well-rounded, diverse person. I'm not a one-trick pony. I'm not like you call me. No, first I want to see what's going on in your personal life, because guess what? Our businesses are just an extension of us. So I first look deeply and, to see what's going on, marriage, kids, everything. Right. And then we talk about business. I do it a little different, but it works. All my students, thank God, they're 7-figure producers. Thank God.
That's truly incredible. What is one thing you wish you would have known before you started that would have helped speed up that process, but change the way you look at it to where now you have this perspective that allows you to achieve really anything?
Several things I can think of, man. First and foremost, start sooner. Bet on yourself sooner. I know it's scary. Get out of your comfort zone sooner. Second, mentorship. Again, I started, investing into myself March of 2019. I wish I would have started investing into mentorship sooner. I was very egotistical. I was very prideful. I had a chip on my shoulder, coming from where I come from, being illegal immigrant at one point, coming from the mud to reaching a level of success that nobody in my family has ever in the history of my family's existence has ever reached. I was like, I don't need anybody. What's someone else going to teach me? I know it all. Thank God I, through my own growth, I'm like, you know what? I don't know it all. Actually, as a matter of fact, I don't know shit. So once I started really putting my ego down and my pride, and I started really becoming a student, mentorship changed my life. Get around mentors. Everyone's a teacher. They're either going to teach you what to do or what not to do, how to live or how not to live.
Where can they find more about you, your companies, and everything you're doing here?
Carlos Reyes on Instagram. You just type in Carlos Reyes. I'm one of the few Mexican dudes out there that has like a little blue check mark. Instagram decided to give me a blue check mark a while back. Carlos Reyes on Instagram, man. I'm very responsive on there. So I'll always try to serve you to my best of my abilities,
For everybody out there, that's how we were able to make this happen.
Instagram. Yeah.
Reaching out and just making that connection there.
Absolutely,
Carlos,
brother.
For some people, their support system when taking this first step, it's more scary. They feel like these people, their friends, their family, they love them, they trust them, and they're going to be the ones to actually talk them out of doing things like this because it's uncomfortable, because they don't see themselves accomplishing this.
I love where you're headed. Because that happened to me. My father-in-law, who I love dearly, he's like a father to me. I didn't have a father, Again, I've been dating his daughter since I was 17 years old, and he told me, are you sure you want to leave your job? Right? You have a 401k, IRA, blah, 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 blah. You have security. You have my daughter. You have my granddaughter. Again, you can't be upset with your loved ones trying to give you advice because they don't know what they don't know. And if you take a look at what they have going on, I'll tell you what, if you have an entrepreneur uncle and you have a 9-to-5 uncle, right? My father-in-law, he's been working for the city of Phoenix for 20 plus years. So he doesn't know any better. I can't be upset with him. He just wants what's best for me, right? What he feels is what's best for me. If you have an entrepreneur uncle and you have a 9-to-5 uncle and you talk to your 9-to-5 uncle, he's going to tell you, no, get a job, get benefits, get security, blah, blah, blah. And you talk to your entrepreneur uncle, what is he going to tell you? Yeah, man, you should definitely do the entrepreneur thing because you're going to gain so much financial freedom. You're going to be able to do things that the 9-to-5 job would never even allow you to do, take the vacations, put money in the bank, invest into different ventures, blah, 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 right? 2 different pieces of advice, right? Well, you have to remember your family and your friends love you, but unfortunately, all they're doing is they're projecting their own limitations and insecurities on you. So you can't blame them, be upset with them. You can just say, hey, I love you. Thank you. I'm still going to do my thing, right? I love you. And, maybe one day I'll hire you because I hired most of my family now, right? So it's like, I love you and I understand why you're giving me this advice, right? It's coming from your heart and it's what you know. So I don't blame you. I want people to really understand that they love you. They want you to do what's best for you, but they're only giving you advice to their limit, to their capacity and limitations.
For a lot of people, I think that's going to go a long way to just say, you can still maintain these relationships. You can still have these people in your life, right? It doesn't make them bad people because they don't see what you see.
Absolutely not.
In fact, I would even go as far as to say, Carlos, it's necessary that the people that you value can't see what you see and you still see it to really make it through the tough times, because you'll always have that to fall back on, to reflect on when that doubt does creep in inevitably. So what is the kind of impact that you want to have on the world and on the industry when it's all said and done?
I went to do a couple of speaking engagements, Atlanta, Dallas. One of my team members asked me, they were in the front seat in Uber, and they look at me like, hey, man, do you ever want to get to the B, right? With the billionaire status, right? And I said, hey, you know what? As long as I don't have to jeopardize my health and my family, yeah, I'm okay with that. If that's what God wants for me, right? But the fact of the matter is, if God wants me to serve 1 million plus people, I will. Because I know that God he won't give me something that I cannot handle. Okay. Now, if God wants me to just retire and become a pastor in Birmingham, Alabama of a church of 20 people, I'll do that too. Because ultimately, again, right, we got to allow God to make these decisions for us. We got to trust him. Whatever he allows us to do is what's going to make us happy and fulfilled. If God wants me to serve 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, whatever. If he wants me to stop now, I'll stop now. For me, brother, if like, hey, a lot of this stuff is out of my control, right? I can only control 2 things, my actions and my attitude, right? So if God wants me to do that, I'll do that. I want to be able to change lives and continue to change lives. I know for a fact through God's discernment, through his wisdom, through serving, I've been able to already change at least thousands, tens of thousands of lives. If he wants me to change millions of lives, then I will. But again, as long as it doesn't jeopardize my health and my family, I want to be here to serve as many people as I can. You know what I mean?
Definitely. And, you continue to make a mark. I've talked to other real estate people, and everybody's different, right? Everybody's path to success, that journey is different. So there's no template, right, necessarily for an entrepreneur to be successful. But there are key things, like you've mentioned: discipline, commitment, making that decision. This is what you want to do. Eric Thomas talks about this, and I'll toss this in here. For everyone listening, it's impossible to expect 120% results with 70% effort. Ultimately, you have to be willing to put forth all that it takes if you want to achieve these things. Some people, they want the dream to be on sale. They want the dream to start to slowly come easier at points when it gets really tough. They're missing in that part the reminder that why are they doing this? Who are they going to help? What happens if they don't do this? I think those things ultimately propel them forward. And Carlos, you've definitely been able to demonstrate that in everything that you continue to do, man. So I appreciate you coming on the show, talking to all of us. You've been a wealth of knowledge for myself. And I know that there's going to be a ton of people on here to really unpack a lot and be able to take that next step forward. Thank
you, brother. I appreciate you having me on. And, hopefully, today we were able to impact, if someone heard one thing, right? One gem, one nugget that's going to change something in their lives, then we definitely did our work today. So I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. We wish you the best. Carlos, thanks again for your time.
Thank you, brother. God bless you.